we last met here on the Breakfast Rundown on the 13th of November. That was the day before the 2024 parliamentary election of Sri Lanka. Since then, so much has happened. History has been made, records have been broken, and the government secured a landslide victory at the 2024 parliamentary election. A very good morning and welcome. You're watching the Breakfast Rundown and I'm Theruni Karunaratna. We have so much to cover on this morning's edition, especially concerning the recently concluded 2024 parliamentary election of Sri Lanka. But of course, as always, we have news overseas as well, so do stay tuned with us right throughout. Before we move on to our top story for this morning, allow me to give you a small summary on what happened on Thursday, the 14th of November, which was, of course, the 2024 parliamentary election date in Sri Lanka. The National People's Power achieved a historic victory in the parliamentary election, securing 159 seats in parliament. Now, this win marks a significant milestone as the party has surpassed the 113-seat threshold needed for a majority. The National People's Power emerged victorious in the parliamentary election, winning power in 21 districts and securing a total of 141 seats. National People's Power received 6,863,186 votes, representing 61.56% of the total votes this year. Overall, the National People's Power holds 159 seats in parliament, including 18 seats from the national list. The Samagi Jana Balawegaya follows in second place with 40 seats in the Parliament of Sri Lanka. The Samagi Jana Balawegaya has secured 1,968,716 votes, representing 17.66% of the total votes this year. Meanwhile, the New Democratic Front received 500,835 votes, with 4.49% earning 5 seats in the Parliament. The Sri Lanka Podujana Perumuna garnered 350,429 votes, securing 3 seats this year. The Lanka Tamil Arasu Katchi received 257,813 votes and won 8 seats in the Parliament of Sri Lanka. The Sri Lanka Muslim Congress has also won 3 seats. Additionally, the All Ceylon Tamil Congress, Elam People's Democratic Party or EPDP, United National Party, Sri Lanka Labour Party, Democratic Tamil National Alliance, one independent group, each secured 1 seat this year in the Parliament of Sri Lanka. Meanwhile, the Sarva Jana Balaya received 178,006 votes, securing 1 parliamentary seat from the national list. Well, in one of the latest developments in this regard, the national list of members of parliament from the National People's Power, the Sarva Jana Balaya as well as the Ilange Tamil Arasu Katchi have been made public. 18 representatives of the National People's Power have been appointed to Parliament through the national list this year. Well, this year's parliamentary election was definitely a historic one as multiple records were broken. A parliamentary representative from the disabled community of Sri Lanka, which amounts for about 9% of the entire population, has been appointed to the Parliament of Sri Lanka for the very first time in history. This representative has been appointed through the national list of the National People's Power. Sugat Vasantha de Silva, who had lost his sight due to an accident that occurred during his childhood, is a graduate from the University of Colombo. A social worker by profession for 25 years, he is also the chairman of the Sri Lanka Council of Vision Impaired Graduates. Meanwhile, the 10th Parliament of Sri Lanka will be the parliament that had the highest number of female representatives in the history of Sri Lanka as well. This year, 21 female representatives were elected through popular vote to the 10th Parliament of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka at the recently concluded 2024 parliamentary election. The first woman to be elected to the State Council, the country's first state assembly, was Adeline Molamure, who won by elections for the Ruan Balla seat. Since then, no parliament has had female representation surpassing 6%. The highest number of women to ever serve at the time in parliament was 13. 19 out of the 21 elected women are from the National People's Power. Well, let's move on to your top story for this morning now. The new cabinet will be sworn in today at 10 a.m. The swearing-in ceremony will be held at the President's office and will be presided over by President Anura Kumara Dissanayake. The President's Media Division announced that cabinet ministers as well as deputy ministers will be sworn in at the President's office today. The inaugural session of the 10th Parliament will begin at 10 a.m. on the 21st of this month. A new Speaker, Deputy and Deputy Chairman of committees will be appointed on that day. No parliamentary seats will be designated for the parliamentarians on the 21st, and therefore, accordingly, they may sit in any preferred seat. The parliamentary session will commence thereafter. Following the appointment of a new Speaker, the newly appointed MPs will take oaths before him. Thereafter, the Parliament will be adjourned until afternoon, and at 3 p.m, President Anurukumara Dissanayake will present the new government's policy statement to the Parliament. The 10th Parliament of Sri Lanka has more than 175 members who have been elected to Parliament for the very first time, which is of course yet another record broken at this year's parliamentary election. Meanwhile, the Secretary-General of Parliament, Kushani Rohanadira, says that steps have been taken to collect information of all newly appointed parliamentarians online. She says that their information can be submitted onto the official website of the Parliament of Sri Lanka, which is www.parliament.lk. The Secretary-General of Parliament also says that a special counter will be set up in Parliament to gather information on the newly elected MPs. This counter will be open tomorrow on the 19th and also the day after, which is the 20th of this month. She adds that all MPs will be informed today to attend the inaugural session of the 10th Parliament of Sri Lanka. Let's move on to some more local news now. A group of representatives from the International Monetary Fund arrived in Sri Lanka yesterday to conduct the third review of the IMF program in Sri Lanka. Secretary to the Ministry of Finance, Mahinda Sirivardana, says that they will begin discussions today with regards to the third review of the IMF program in Sri Lanka. The Ministry of Finance says that the IMF representatives are set to meet with the President, ministry officials and central bank officials as well. The Ministry of Finance said that the International Monetary Fund expects to conclude the initial phase of the third review by this Friday. Meanwhile, special transport services will be operational today for voters who travel to their hometowns for the election to return to Colombo. Chairman of the Sri Lanka Transport Board, Ramal Sirivardana, says that long-distance bus services will also be operational as well. He adds that instructions have been given to deploy extra buses if required, depending on the demand of transport services. Meanwhile, the chairman of the Ceylon Private Bus Owners Association, Gamunu Vijayaratna, says that a higher number of private buses have also been deployed today to provide transport for voters who are returning to Colombo following the recently concluded parliamentary election. The Department of Railways says that special train services are also scheduled today for voters to return to Colombo. Accordingly, these train services will be operational from Galle, Mathura, Beliatta, Badulla and Kandy. The department also adds that the Samudra Devi train departed Mathura at 3:30 a.m. today, while the Hikkadua train departed the Galle railway station at 4:30 a.m. today. On to more local news now. All lectures, tuition classes, workshops as well as seminars for the 2024 GCE Advanced Level Examination will be prohibited from midnight tomorrow. The Department of Examinations says that legal action will be taken against those who fail to comply with this regulation. Examination monitoring has also been intensified this year. Accordingly, in addition to officials from the Department of Examinations, officers from provincial and zonal offices will also be deployed for monitoring activities. One monitoring officer will be required to cover 20 examination centres within 15 days. The advanced level examination is scheduled to be held from the 25th of November to the 20th of December. This will take place across 2,312 examination centres island-wide. 333,185 candidates will be facing the 2024 GCE Advanced Level Examination. Meanwhile, this year, only the Chief Invigilator of the Examination Centre and the Additional Chief Invigilator will be permitted to take their mobile phones into the examination halls. The Department of Examinations says that this decision was taken in light with the issues that rose in the recent past. Let's move on to a weather update for this morning. The Met Department says that showers will occur at times in the northern and eastern provinces, and fairly heavy showers of about 50 millimeters are likely at some places across the island as well. Showers or thunder showers will occur in the western, Sabaragamuwa, central, southern, Ubud, northwestern and north central provinces during the evening or night. Fairly heavy showers above 75 millimeters are likely at some places in the western and Sabaragamu provinces and in the Galle and Mathura districts as well. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in the western, Sabaragamu, central and Uva provinces and in the Galle and Mathura districts during the morning hours as well. As always, the general public is requested to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by temporary localized strong winds and lightning during thunder showers. Allow me to shift your attention to news overseas for this morning. US President Joe Biden has given the green light for Ukraine to use long-range missiles supplied by the US to strike Russia. For months, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has been urging that the restrictions on the missiles, also known as ATACMS, be lifted, allowing Kyiv to strike outside its own borders. On Sunday, he reacted to the reports saying, quote, "Such things are not announced. Missiles speak for themselves," unquote. Russian President Vladimir Putin had previously warned Western nations against such a move, saying it would represent the NATO military alliance's direct participation in Ukraine's war. He was yet to comment on Sunday's reports, although other senior Kremlin politicians described this as a serious escalation of the war in Ukraine. Well, that brings to a close this morning's edition of the Breakfast Rundown. I'm Theruni Karnaratna. I'll see you again tomorrow at the same time, 7 a.m. right here on TV1. Until then, take care. Have a wonderful day ahead.